Good morning. It's Sunday, the 14th of January. We're just about halfway through the month. At this point, I had a very interesting morning. I woke up early and I received a really lovely email that had something contained within it that I'd been wondering when it might pop up. So I've been, as of sort of in the past week or so of sort of thinking about the novel and planning, I started to get a bit of a funny want to commission some sort of concept artworks to start to think about the characters in a different way, the two main protagonists and the environment that the novel's in. And I know it's a bit silly because one thing I'm always cautious of, and I mean, I used to do it as a teenager, and we've all probably done it for different projects we've worked on, but it's that idea of, making, say, a cover for something you're working on, like a book or an album, and you don't actually have the album finished, or you don't have the book finished, or even just started, and you suddenly make, a cover of something. And in some ways it might seem, playful and fun and not too consequential, but I actually always thought it was quite a serious error, in that if you saw, if you gave yourself the feeling that something was looking finished, almost like, oh look, this is what the book would look like. I know on one hand you might say, well, that's a lovely visualization technique, this is the book cover, this is what it's going to be like to hold and finish the book, so work towards that. Maybe that's true for some people, but for me, I always felt like it gave me an unwarranted sense of creative easing, in this sense of, you don't even have to write a novel, you just have to do a cover and hold that, and that gives you the sense of the book being finished. That's honestly how I feel sometimes. If you do too many pretty things to give you the sense of what the product is going to be, it actually takes away some of the fight within you to make it happen. So that being read, that being something that I consider, I nonetheless, the way it happened was, I read that an artist who has been very inspirational to me in even starting the book, and I've shown his artworks previously. I don't want to say his name at this point because I don't know if it's going to happen, and I'm very superstitious about these sorts of things. So, but there was an artist who I very much admire, and they said he had some commissions that were available to perhaps try and get him to do an artwork of your choice, and these commissions come up very, very rarely. And so I wrote and had an idea based on the two characters in this novel, and I got a reply saying, that sounds great, here's the invoice sort of details to go ahead with the commission. And I processed it all, and it hasn't come through yet, and I don't know if it will necessarily. Like I said, I get a bit superstitious and a bit funny until I'm actually holding, or I've got that thing, or see it happening. But anyway, I won't talk too much about that particular circumstance, but what it led me to was to think about other ways of visualizing some of the things in this book, because I love art and I love all sorts of digital art. And I reached out to a few artists whose work I admire, and one of them was a manga artist who created a really, really cool manga style visualization of the two main characters in the book, and I'll pop it up here. There you can see it now. So those are the two main characters from the novel, and they are pretty much exactly how I've seen them in my mind, which is uncanny, because I gave a written description, some of the things I've been planning in the book, and they just, the artist took it and made it, wind on the roof, made it exactly how I imagined it being. So I was really happy with the commission. I thought it turned out fantastic, and I've popped it in my little folder of art references and things within Scrivener to look back at, just to you know, fill me with that feeling of thinking about knowing who these people are and that they're real, and there's something more than just the words. There's actually a visual to give to them. So I love that. I love the idea of more styles coming through to illustrate different ways of seeing those characters in different parts of the book. So I'll share them on the blog as they come through, and if this one particular commission piece that I'm very the big one comes through, then I will definitely be sharing that as well, but we will see. Anyway, that aside, I sat down after I spent the morning going through and playing around with the pictures that came through and thanking the artist and all. I eventually had breakfast, and then I sat down and wrote. And what I wrote was a plan for chapter 6, and I actually came up with something that I'm really happy with for Act 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. I already had 6.4, but this just doing these, the first 3 acts of that chapter, just confirmed the 6.4 is what it needs to be, and this gives the rest of the chapter a really nice trajectory to get there. So I'm really happy with it. I think it's paced just right, and so really, if I had have sat down for another hour after that, I think I could have popped all those things that I planned into individual scenes within each of the acts for chapter 6, but didn't want to rush it. I've got some other things to do today, even though it's a Sunday. I've spent so much of the morning on the novel already that I thought it was a nice place to leave it, but a really contented spot. So really, I think the novel is planned. I mean, I'm going to obviously work for the next couple of days on just making sure the outline for chapter 6 is solid and everything's there as it needs to be, and then I'll be looking at the third round of outlines. I actually think I finished chapter 6 faster than I thought, which I was thinking about a lot yesterday as I was just walking around and doing jobs, and I had little ideas coming to mind. Laying in bed last night, I had some similar thoughts, and then when I woke up this morning, I think they all just came together as they needed to happen. So it's all good things happening. I'll sign off there, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, after which time I will have hopefully completed the really solid planning for Act 6.1 based on this plan that I wrote out for chapter 6 this morning. Have a good day, and I'll see you then.